Hello lovelies, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we'll be learning how to draft our dress with Queen Anne's neckline. If it's something you're interested in, please keep watching and let's get into this video. So the first thing I did is to draw a straight line. This will serve as my starting point or my shoulder line, and from there I'm going to go ahead and start imputing my measurements. So I'm going to place my tape at my starting point at my shoulder line, and I'm going to go ahead and mark my bust point. My bust point is 10 inches, and from there, still leaving my tape at my shoulder line, I'll mark my under bust point, which is 14 inches, and then I'm going to go ahead and mark my half length, which is 19 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and make a straight line to connect all these lines. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to insert half of my shoulder measurement, and my measurement is 15 inches divided by 2, and that's 7.5 inches. And then from my armhole line, I'm going to insert my chest line. My chest line is 8 inches. That's what I just marked, and I'm going to draw a straight line to connect this. Please go ahead and mark yours as well. The next thing I did is to mark my bust measurement from that shoulder line. My tape started at where my pattern paper started. Sorry, it's not showing. So I'm going to mark my bust point, my bust measurement divided by 4. That's what I marked, and I'm going to go ahead and mark the half of my shoulder measurement that we marked earlier. I'm going to go ahead and connect it to my bust line, just like I did here. I'm going to go ahead and mark my neckline. Before we continue, my neckline, I'm going by 3 inches by 3 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and make a curve to connect this. When you look at what you are doing, you will see that we are trying to cut out a basic bodice for this style. So for my neckline, I went down by 1 inch, and then 1 inch I'm going to go ahead and connect it to my neckline, to my shoulder line, whichever you want to connect it to. Then from that 1 inch shoulder slope that I've just marked, I'm going to measure from that place to my chest line. Whatever I have there, I'm going to divide it into 2, and that place I have 3.5 inches because I have 7 there. So from that 3.5 inches, I'm going to go in by ½ inch at that point, just like I did, and then I'm going to connect the 3 points, my 1 inch shoulder slope, the half of my armhole that I marked, and then the my bust measurement divided by 4 that I marked. So I went ahead to connect the 3 points together. The next thing I'm going to do, I just decided to label this so that we don't get confused on the way. So the first line is my chest line, the second one is my bust, this is my under bust, and this is my waistline. So the next thing I'm going to do is insert our nipple to nipple measurement, and for me mine is 4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this from my under bust to my waistline and also to my bust line, and then I'm going to go ahead and connect this with a straight line. Then from the line going towards my center front, from that dart, I'm going to mark 1 inch. If you're on a small size, very small, like a size 6, please go ahead and mark 0.75, but for me I'm a size 16, so I marked 1 inch on both on my waistline and my under bust. And the other side going towards my center seam, my seam side, I'm going to go by 1.5 inches. If you are bigger than me, you can go as much as 2 inches. Just know that the more you increase that side, the bigger the cup is going to look, or it's going to be. You can reduce it if you are smaller than me as well, very smaller than me. So from my bust point, I went down by 1 inch because I want to connect and make a curve for our cup. If you don't want to come down by 1 inch, it's okay. Just make sure that whatever you're going to curve is not going to have a pointing is not going to look pointy at the bust point. So I went ahead to connect it. Just look at the way I connected the curve. That's the same way you're going to curve it. So at my my shoulder line, I'm going to measure this. I have about 4.5 inches, and I'm going to divide it into two. Just fold my tape just like I am doing. Do the same, fold it into two to get the center, and I'm going to go ahead and connect it to our bust point. What we are trying to do is to bring to take out the dart at our chest line. So at my chest line, I'm going to go up by 1 inch on both sides for my dart. Then just like we did for the other dart, we are going to do the same for this. I'm going to go ahead and then make a curve on this. You can use your free hand to do this if you don't have your French curve, but just make sure that whatever you're going to point is not whatever you're going to cut is not pointing. And then at my chest line, I decided to go up by 1.5 inches. I do not want it to be I want it to be a little be covered up. But if you want to just leave yours at your chest line, you can also go up by 1 inch if you want. But for me, I went up by 1.5, and I'm going to go ahead and mark the same dart that we took at our chest line. The 1 inch we did there, I'm going to repeat it at this chest line, and I'm going to go ahead and then make a curve from our bust point to meet that 1 inch at our new neck and chest line. So the 1.5 inches I went up becomes our new chest line. So by the time you connect it, you see that the other dart line is no more useful. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So that's why I marked it out, so that you guys will know that it's no more useful. So we're going to go ahead and insert our measurement, and I've already added my bust measurement, and I'm just going ahead to measure the dart, and I have about 0.75 there. So I just replace the dart, and I will do the same thing at my under bust. I'll insert my measurement divided by 4, and then measure my dart. I have about 2.5 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and replace the 2.5 inches, and I'll do the same thing for my waistline. That's my waistline divided by 4. I'll mark it, and then measure the dart to see what I have there, and then replace the dart. If you don't replace the dart, you are going to have shortage of fabric. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to connect all the points that I just marked, from my chest line to my bust line and also to my waistline. So if you notice, you see that we did not add any allowance to this while cutting it out. We are going to do all the allowances at when we want to transfer it to our fabric. Then if you want your neckline to be down, that's for your cleavage to show, this is at this point is where you're going to insert your neckline. So from wherever you want yours to start, what you're going to do is to curve it to meet the dart. Just like I placed my French curve, just go ahead and curve it to meet the first leg of the dart, and then curve the second leg of the dart to meet, and then cut the second leg of the dart to meet to go towards your armhole. That's what you're going to do depending on how deep you want your neckline to be or how shallow. So that's how to cut your neckline. But for me, I'm not cutting my neckline, so I'm just going to mark the lines that I just marked, so that you guys will know is not needed. And I'm also going to cut out these other ones. And that's all for the front bodies. I hope you're enjoying this video. Please give me a thumbs up if you do. If you haven't subscribed to my channel up to this moment, please take a minute to hit on the subscribe button. Join the growing family. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to leave it on the comment section, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So we are going to go ahead and cut this out. Then we'll keep our yoke aside, because we're going to still work on that afterwards. So for our yoke, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the shoulder line and then the neckline. So this is it for our queens Queen Anne's neckline, what I'm going to do is to come in from my armhole by 2 inches. If you can go as low as 1.5 or even 1 inch, depending on how exposed you want that your that area to be. But for me, I went in by 2 inches, so I'm going to connect it to the shoulder line. Just make sure that you don't tamper with the length of your shoulder line when connecting this, because it's going to affect the back neckline or the back shoulder line. So that's all for the Queen Anne's neckline. I'm going to go ahead and connect it, and we proceed to the other cutting of the style. So we are going to go ahead and cut our back. For my back, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing that I did for the front. I've already marked my shoulder line, and from there I'll mark my bust line, which is 10 inches, then my under bust, and then my hem, my half length. For this is going to be, I'm going to be attaching it to a skirt, so it's a gown, not a blouse. So I just mark the lines across. We're going to go over like we did the first one. In case you do not catch one or two there, you're going to get it now. So I just mark half of my shoulder measurement, and then I'm going to go down by go down for my chest line, and then I marked a straight line. Also connected my half of my shoulder measurements, and I'm going to go ahead and insert my bust point. For the back line for the back armhole, we are not going in by ½ inch at the armhole. We are just marking, once you insert your bust measurement, you are going to make a curve to meet the armhole, just like you guys can see. And also, just like we did at the front bodies, we are going to mark half of our nipple to meet nipple measurement from under bust to our waistline, and we'll also extend it to the bust line, just like we did at the front. I'm just leveling the line so that you guys will understand what I'm doing here. And then from the line I just marked, the half of my nipple measurement, I'm going to go in by 1 inch on both sides for my dart. I'm just trying to extend the line to my bust line. So for the dart I made, I'm going to go ahead and slant it, the 1 inch I made, to meet the line at the center. Just make sure it's not pointy as well. You can make it to meet 1 inch below the bust line. So since I've already added my bust line, my bust measurement, I'm going to go ahead and insert my under bust measurement. And just like we did at the front, we're going to measure our dart and also replace it so that we don't have shortage of fabric there. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and then connect the lines, the points that we marked. And for my back neckline, I'm doing about 3 inches for the width, and then 1.5 inches for the length. I do not want it to have a deep neckline. That's why I am going up. If you want yours to have a deep neckline, just you are free to go ahead and do the same thing. And then for my shoulder slope, I almost forgot. I went down by 1 inch, and I'm going to go ahead and connect it to my neckline. And that's basically all for the back bodies. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out before we'll start transferring it to our fabric. You don't want to miss that part, because we are going to add all our allowances to it, and you do not want to miss that. And then for my back neckline, I'm going to go up from my center back up by 1 inch. This will help to eliminate any bulge at the back, at the zipper area, after attaching it, and also to align the half length, because sometimes you see that the back half length is lower than the front one. So I'm going to slant it to meet the side seam. And that's all for this back. I'm just cutting it out so that you guys can just you see how it will look after you are going to stitch it down on your machine. So there's no need cutting this out. I'm just trying to show you guys. You do not need to cut it out. So when you are done stitching it, not cutting it out, this is how it's going to look on your fabric. So we are going to go ahead and transfer this to our fabric, and for this we are going to add our allowances here, and we are for this center piece I'm adding 1/2 inch all around it, from the shoulder line to the side and to the place we are going to attach to the skirt. And I'll do the same thing for the side piece. The only difference is that at the side seam I'm adding 1.5 inches where I am now for stitching and for your allowance. You notice that while cutting our darts at the upper part, at the chest line, we did not replace our dart measurement, our dart, if you noticed. So I remembered it while I was cutting this out, so I just replaced it here so that we don't have a shortage of fabric. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. At our chest line we did not replace our dart, so I just replaced it here. And then every other thing you add your allowance and cut it out. Then for the back bodies, what I'm going to do is to add 1 inch. I just flipped it over because of my fabric. If you have a fabric that has pattern, I don't think you can flip yours over. So I'm going to add my zipper allowance and then add half inch all around, but at the same side I'm adding 1.5 inches there. So every other side will have 1/2 inch. My zipper is 1.1 inch, and then my seam side is 1.5 inches. Then I went ahead to open my back bodies, and this is it after I was done. Then for our Queen Anne's neckline, my fabric is folded into 4, and I'm going to add 1/2 inch all around for this to cut it out. Remember, my fabric is folded. When I am done with this, I'm going to fold my fabric again and then cut another one. I'm sorry for all the noise from my baby. So I'm going to cut it out and then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this, because I want one to serve as a lining for the other one. And this is, so I have 4 pieces for each, for them 2 pieces for each sleeve. And then for this skirt part, we're going to go ahead and cut the skirt part. The folding you're going to use is your hip allowance, is your hip measurement divided by 4 plus your allowance. That's what the folding you are going to use to fold your fabric. And then I went ahead to mark a straight line for to mark out the label on my Ankara fabric. And the next thing I'm going to do is to place my tape on my waistline and then go down for my hip line. My hip line is 8 inches, so I went down by 8 inches, and then I marked my knee line. My knee line is 21 inches from my waist. That's from my waist. Then to mark the full length, what I did is to keep my tape at 19 inches, my half length at that waistline, and then mark the length of my skirt, and I added 2 inches allowance for it. And then I'm just marking the lines across it so that you guys can see. So the next thing I'm going to do is to insert my waist measurement divided by 4, about 9 inches. So that's what I'm going to mark there. And remember, our nipple to nipple measurement is 4 inches, so I'm replacing it, I'm marking it there rather. Then for my dart, and then for my dart length, I am marking at 5 inches. Just so I went ahead to mark a straight line there, and then for my dart, I'm going by 1 inch by 1 inch on both sides. Sorry for all the rush and mixing up things. I'm so distracted by my baby today. So I'm going to go ahead and then connect the 1 inch to meet my dart line. So since we've already marked our waistline, the next thing I'm going to do is to replace the dart that we just marked, and the dart is 2 inches, so I just replaced it at my waistline and then added 1 inch for my allowance. You can go ahead and add as much as you can, 1.5 or 2 inches. Then I'm going to go ahead and insert my hip measurement divided by 4, and since I added 1 inch allowance for my allowance at my waistline, I'm going to add 1 inch for my hip as well. And you see the way I am placing my curve to connect the line, that's the same way you're going to place yours, or you can go ahead and use your free hand to connect this. Just remember that this is a curve, it's not going to go inward, it's going to go outward, just like you can see. And whatever you have at your neckline, you're going to measure it. Whatever you have there, I just deducted 1 inch and then mark it at my knee line. I have 12.5 at my hip line. I deducted 1 inch and then mark 11.5 inches at my knee line. You can mark you can deduct more than 1 inch depending on how fitted or free you want your knee line to be. And then I'm going to extend the line, the 11.5 inches, onto the hemline. I deducted 1 inch because anytime I want to reduce it more, I can use my sewing machine to do that. But if you cut it off, there is no you can't change it anymore, so it's better to be on the safer side. And that's all for this skirt, the front skirt. I'm not going down by 1 inch at this front side because I'm going to be attaching it's going to have a blouse. It's a gown, not just a skirt and a blouse, it's a gown. So I'm just going ahead to cut it out. That's all for this front skirt. Okay, for the back skirt, what I did is to place my fabric still folded onto another one that is folded, and added 1 inch allowance for my zipper. That's all for the back bodies. Basically, there is nothing serious about it. Then I'm going to go ahead because we are already added everything we needed at the front one, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. And that's all for the cutting of this tie, and I will see you in my sewing tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.